So now I'll read you some sections from the book. May 1904, New York City. The woman who would eat her child, or at least his ambitions, was most likely still sleeping and wouldn't be up for hours. But Bryce Holloway's raging hangover drove him from his bed in search of a headache powder. He found none, so he put on his dress coat and stumbled into the parlor where he helped himself to a hefty draught of his father's brandy. It didn't help as much as he'd hoped, so he staggered to the dining room and rang for coffee, which arrived promptly. Jenkins poured it into a delicate china cup that barely held 2 swallows. "Leave the carafe," Bryce said. "Sir?" "I want the coffee close at hand. I need all I can get. I'll pour." "Eggs and toast?" Bryce's stomach recoiled. "Just coffee for now." "Juice?" Perhaps when Mother gets up." "Sorry?" Jenkins said in his most carefully controlled voice. "Sir, it's 1:30. Your mother breakfasted at her regular time and has gone to her Saturday social." "Oh, damn. I see. No juice then." When the carafe was empty, Bryce went to his room, poured water into the basin, splashed his face, and shaved. Jenkins had laid out a summer weight outfit while he had his coffee. Dressed, he left the house and waved down a passing hansom. Fifth Avenue Hotel, domain of Mother's social circle. At the hotel, he asked the driver to wait. Truth be told, he was skinned, having spent his last 6 bits getting home from the train station last night. He'd be solvent Monday when the bank opened. Until then, he'd have to rely on his parents again. Father was in Albany this weekend, just as well because Mother was the easier touch. The white marble Fifth Avenue Hotel spanned the full block between 23rd and 24th Streets and was the social, cultural, and political hub of New York City elite. Bryce entered the vaulted dining room, which easily seated 2,200. He quickly located her mother and friends lingering over tea and pastries. He snagged a chair at a nearby table and dropped next to his mother. "Oh, good afternoon, ladies. I hope all is well." "Oh, Bryce," said the woman seated next to his mother, "have some tea. Your mother says you've been to the St. Louis World's Fair. Tell us all about it." The coffee had already done its work, and the topic at hand reignited his primal fire. It was enormous, 1,500 buildings, including 12 colossal palaces that provided a mind-boggling 5 million square feet of space. At night, the fair dazzled with electric lights. "Oh, tell us more. We'll have the waiter bring a place setting for you." "No, I can't stay. I have a hack waiting out front." "We simply must hear about your trip." She held out a silver tray. "Here, have a pet at 4. "Not today, I'm sorry." "Bryce, don't be difficult," his mother said. "I'm sorry, but I really do have a cab waiting," Bryce said. "Mother, why don't you have the ladies over for tea? I've stereoscope cards and a fair guidebook in my trunk. I can give a proper presentation of the fair and perform the latest Scott Joplin tune for them." Bryce grinned at the ladies. "You know, I had a chance to play with Joplin while we were in St. Louis." "Ragtime," his mother said, as if it were something one found stuck to one's shoe. "A veritable call of the wild which arouses the pulses of city-bred people." He couldn't have agreed more, hence its appeal. And he intended to introduce ragtime to the Western Territories. He leaned close to his mother's face as if to give her a kiss on the cheek and then spoke into her ear. "Let me have $10 till Monday." "That's a great deal of money." "I need to pay the driver." Under the table, she placed a coin on his palm and closed his fingers over it. From its size, he knew she'd slipped him a half-eagle, but best to not argue money in front of her friends. He kissed her cheek and bid the ladies farewell. Bryce changed the $5 piece at the hotel cashier. Outside, he gave 2 bits to the waiting driver. The man snapped his reins and the cab clattered away, leaving Bryce an unobstructed view of Madison Square Garden on the opposite side of the park that fronted the hotel. Its Beaux Art design reminded him of neoclassical palaces at the fair where he and his boyhood chums, Mo and Julius, had gone for opening day. Mo, a painter, had to be pried from the Palace of Fine Arts. At dusk, when the palaces closed, the friends spent their evenings on the mile-long pike where they rode the Ferris wheel, ate, drank, and watched belly dancers. Over suppers, Mo rhapsodized about French Impressionists and the skill of capturing the character of light. Their last night at the fair, they dined at Foss Restaurant with several artists Mo had befriended. Their dinner companions mentioned that 2 European-trained artists were touting the light in Taos, New Mexico as ideal for painters and had moved there to start an arts colony. And that was the seed of the idea. Over fine continental fare and too many bottles of wine, Bryce, Julius, and Mo decided to open a grand emporium in Taos. Their store would bring the latest music, literature of New York culture along with wonderful inventions they'd seen at the fair. Why, the idea seemed as brilliant as Edison's lights around them. The following day, they hit the exhibits one last time, buying what goods they could for their store. Then Julius and Mo entrained for New Mexico. Meanwhile, Bryce returned to New York to make arrangements with sheet music and book publishers. During most of the train ride home, he'd been in the bar car dreaming of how he and his friends would bring the new world to the primitive West. At last, he'd start putting that dream into action today. Well, he supposed he could start today. Publishers might work on Saturday, after all, and Scribner's headquarters was only 2 blocks away. Still, he hadn't eaten yet. With his hangover abated and his appetites were starting to reassert themselves. Now he required food, liquor, and a warm companion. It had been a hell of a long train ride from St. Louis. Emporium purchases could wait till Monday. The afternoon sun glinted off the golden statue of Diana atop her minaret towering over Madison Square Garden. At the moment, her arrow aimed toward Broadway. He took that as a sign. Pick up a Broadway chorus girl, take her to Keen's Steakhouse for mutton chops, and afterwards they danced the 2-step to the latest ragtime. Mother wouldn't be pleased, but he wasn't looking for a girl like dear old Mom.